Hey everyone, John Chow here from johnchow.com, and welcome to Driving with John Chow. I just recently got back from a trip to Fiji. First time I drove this car since I got back, so it's been like a week and a half since I drove this car, which may help to explain why I have less than 4,000 miles on this car. You know, I bought this, I got this car over a year ago from the Mope Motors program. I got it for free from Mope Motors, and I guess I really should drive it more. But hey, those kind of things happen. Anyway, it was a good trip to the Mastermind. I had a great time, met a lot of new friends, and met with some old friends like Shakir and Adeline. Looking forward to my next trip, which will be next week. I'll be going to Las Vegas for the Supercharged Summit. So if you're going to Las Vegas, I look forward to seeing you there and connecting and hooking up and maybe having dinner too as well. So yeah, that'll be next week. I'll be leaving on the 7th. And I hope to see you there. So today, now that I'm back, I want to continue with my talk about success principle and difference between the rich and the not so rich. And if you recall, on my last Driving with John Chow, I talked about the time quadrant. You know, how successful people spend all their time in quadrant 2, and unsuccessful people spend most of the time in quadrant 4 and some of the other quadrant. Well, today I want to talk about another quadrant, and this is called the Cashflow Quadrant. And the Cashflow Quadrant was a term coined by Robert Kiyosaki of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah, you may have read his book. Personally, I don't really think much of Robert Kiyosaki himself. I mean, I know he had a poor dad. I suspect he never had a rich dad. My suspicion is Rich Dad, Poor Dad was just what he used as his thing to teach people. But I don't really think he had a rich dad. All right. But anyway, his principles on financial management are mostly sound. And one of the most sound principle is the cash flow quadrant, and that's what I want to talk about. See, the cash flow quadrant, again, is 4 quadrants, and each quadrant is defined as E, S, B, and I. And basically, when it comes to making money, no matter how we make money, generally it will fall into one of those 4 quadrants. The first quadrant is the E quadrant, and that stands for employment. In other words, you make your money at a job. Whether you work at a job, you go to the job every day, and that's the E, employment income. So then that's the majority of how people make their money. They're employed. The quadrant below that is called the S, which stands for self-employed, and this is the typical small business owner. The S can be self-employed, it can also be small business. And in that case, is instead of you being employed by somebody, you just employ yourself, whether it's you're a consultant, you'll run a small business where you do work, you know, basically. But the thing is still the same. The income is still dependent on you. You are trading your time for money. So that's the left side of the quadrant. On the right side of the quadrant is the top right is the B, which stands for business owner. Now, this means you own the business and the business makes the money, and not to be confused with the self-employed. See, a lot of business owner really belong in the self-employed category. I mean, when we're talking business, we mean actual business that you own, and business means it runs without you being there anymore. See, if you are a true business owner, when your business can run without you, and that's usually that means a big business. Very few small businesses actually fall into this category. All right, so that's the B, and then below that is the I, which means investors or investment income, and that's the last type of income. Basically, you have stocks, bonds, mutual fund, and they pay you an interest, or they pay you a dividend, or they pay you a rental income, or some kind of investment income where you own the investment and the investment makes the money for you, right? So those are the 4 quadrants of cash flow or money making activity. You know, you can, and if you notice that on the left side, that's basically you're trading hours for dollars, because your employment and self-employed. You're trading hours for dollars. It requires your input. And on the right side, the business owner and the investor, basically the money is made without necessarily you having to earn it. So when the business makes the money, your investment earns the money. Now, what's the difference between rich people and poor people? If you look at it, majority of people who are, well, let's say, for lack of a better word, I mean, let's say they're part of the majority are 99%. All right, the majority makes their money on the left side of the quadrant. They're either employed or they're self-employed. In other words, their income is dependent on their work. They're trading their time for money. Whereas the 1% or the rich side, most of their income are derived on the B and the I side. In other words, they have businesses that makes them the money, so they don't have to. They have investment, stocks, mutual fund, rental properties that makes them the money, so they don't have to, right? So if you want to be successful, I always said this, find out what successful people do and then do what they do. So how do financially successful people make their money? Find out how they do it and then they do what they do. And you're gonna find that financially successful people make their money on the right side of the quadrant. They're business owners and they're investors. They're not employees and they're not self-employed. In other words, they do not trade their time for money. So I discovered this a long time ago. This is why I do not trade my time for money. Like you say, people ask me, why don't I do consulting? Because they say I could make thousands of dollars doing it. You know, I have people offer me $1,000 an hour or more, you know, for consulting. And it's because I do not trade time for money, because that is on the left side of the quadrant. I make my money on the right side of the quadrant. I have businesses that make me the money so I can live the .com lifestyle. That's like yesterday. I was having dinner and, you know, enjoying a nice dinner. I forgot what restaurant we were at, but we were enjoying a nice dinner, and then my Facebook post goes up and it's a message from Matt Lloyd and say, hey John, you made like $5,000, I made like $1,500, you know, I made $1,500 while I was having dinner. See, I did not do anything. I was just having dinner, and my business made the money, and I was just having dinner. So that I stay on the right side. And the same thing, my money, you know, I mostly invested in investment that make more money. So actually, a lot of people make, you know, there's a lot of write up, and a lot of people ask me how I make my money with my blog and my business and my internet marketing. Here's the thing, you know, my investment, I don't talk much about this, but my investment actually make me more money than my business. And in the end, that is the actual goal, because, you know, even though my business can run without me, the fact that I'm a CEO, it means that I do have to, you know, have some time to actually run the business. Whereas my investment is 100% totally hands off, like absolutely zero input on my time, 100% passive residual income, right? And in the end, that is really the goal. So the money I make from my B gets funneled into the I, because in the end, I want the majority of the income to come from investment, because that is truly 100% hands-off passive income. I mean, the business is mostly passive, but it's not 100% passive. It does still require, you know, me to run it, and it does require my input as opposed to my investment, right? But, you know, it's passive enough that I can live the .com lifestyle. I say it takes about 2 hours a day to do. All right, so that's basically the message I want to get across to you. If you want to join the successful people, financially successful people, you need to make money the way they make money, and that means stay away from the left side of the cash flow quadrant. Do not be an employee and do not be self-employed. Work on creating businesses that makes you the money, so you don't have to. When the business makes the income, invest it into investment that continue to make you interest income, dividend income, rental income. So the whole point of this is basically your income is not dependent on you, and that is really the key. If you're on the left side of the quadrant, your income depends on you. If you're on the right side of the quadrant, then your income does not depend on you. Stay on the right side of the cash flow quadrant if you want to be financially successful. And that is today's message. John Chow from johnchow.com. Thank you for listening. If you like that message, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, And I will see you guys on the next episode.